Well, hello everybody! Welcome back to G Bear's Off-Grid Ways, a homestead in the desert, and today is a dog day afternoon. The dogs are just laying in the shade, relaxing. Finally got a nice warm day without wind, and not a skyrider in the sky. None. Zero. Go figure. No skyriders. No wind, no nasty weather. Go figure. Wow. All right, everybody. Today, we're going to have a little discussion about you future off-gridders who are planning on packing it up, getting out of town, and moving out to the remote area like this and taking up off-grid living. All right, there's a few mistaken thoughts that people have in their heads about living off-grid. Number one, it's not free. It is not free. Don't think that just because you move off-grid that you are no longer going to be paying bills. It doesn't work that way. Every bill you have now, except for your energy bills, is still going to be there, except for your rent and your mortgage, unless you buy the land outright. My 20 acres is completely paid for. There's no payment I have to make monthly to live here, but there is payments I have to make twice yearly, or yearly if you choose. Because money is tight for me, I do it twice yearly, and that is property taxes. Oh my God, property taxes. The most ridiculous thing in American history, property taxes. People will tell you it's for the schools and for the emergency vehicles and all that stuff. Bull. It's baloney. It's crap. All it is to put money in politicians' pockets. That's it. All right? If you want to charge property taxes, charge them to the working people that are out there working, and charge them a fair amount on their property. And charge them by the value of their property if you want. But once an American reaches retirement age, they've done their job. They've worked for this country. They went to the military for this country. Well, can't speak for everybody, but they've done everything in their power to move this country forward. They should be exempt from property taxes, because all that does is take money out of their pockets that they need. And basically what the corrupt politicians are telling you is you can never own land in the U.S. because you're going to keep paying for it the rest of your life. The property is paid for, but I've got to pay taxes to some idiots who sit behind a desk in an air-conditioned office and say, we've got to raise taxes on this place and this place and this place, or we're not going to be able to afford a yacht and a vacation next year. Okay? That's my opinion, and I don't want to hear any arguments about it. That's my opinion, and trust me, I've lived long enough to say my opinion is pretty rock solid, okay? Bottom line. All right, so let's move on. So you're going to plan on moving off grid. Okay, now you got to do the thing called prepping. Okay, now there are preppers out there who are a little bit different. Preppers are looking for the day when everything collapses and they want to be ready for it. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. If you're going to plan to move off grid, you've got to be a prepper. All right. What do you need to prep with? What do you need to take with you? Well, Number one, same thing that all preppers do. You want survival food. You want enough survival food to keep you and, well, each person, I should say, on your property. Each person. You want enough survival food for 6 months each person. That's important. Okay, now you're going, wow, that's a lot of food. Yes, but it could take 6 months in a major disaster before you'll be able to buy any food. And if you think that you're going to move off grid and start a garden and get fruit and vegetables the same year that you move off grid, boy, are you mistaken. It doesn't work that way. You see my garden house over there? That garden house has been here now for, well, this month I have an anniversary on the 24th, and that'll start my 10th year. Okay, I'm in the 9th year now. That'll start my 10th year on the 24th of April. That garden has not produced enough food to keep me alive for a year, because I've had a lot of things I've had to overcome. There's a learning curve into getting your garden together. Okay, it doesn't mean that you just move on to a piece of property, dig up some soil, put your seeds in, and you're going to be eating for free. That is crazy if you think that. It does not work that way. All right? You're going to be changing an area from where you live to a new place. When that happens, you're in a different zone. All right? Now, the powers that be out there have tried to prevent us from doing this, and they've gone back quite a few years on this. And what they started doing was GMO seeds. Okay, the GMO seeds, genetically modified organic seeds. They're fixing it, and all the stuff you buy in the supermarkets and that stuff, they're fixing it so those seeds can't be used to repropagate that food. They don't want you to do that. And the seed companies don't want you to do that. The seed companies want you to keep buying seeds from them every year. Well, there's another expense, right? Wrong. If you're looking for stuff that you want to take with you out to your first trip off grid, don't look for things to decorate the cabin that you don't have. Don't look for pretty curtains. Buy yourself a cheap pull-down shade at Home Depot and put that on the window. You are not going to try to impress the Joneses next door when you're off grid, because you don't have Joneses next door, okay? It doesn't work that way. You're all alone out here. Even if you go with one other person, your favorite other, if you want. If there's two of you out there, you're still all alone out here. All right, now you're going to still have to drive distances and get gasoline for your vehicle. And you're still going to have to do all of those government requirements of paying registration and paying for insurance and paying for repairs and paying for everything that you could think of on your car. So you still got another bill that's with you. Okay, so forget this free living stuff. That's what everybody thinks. It's going to be free living. No, you're still going to have hundreds of dollars per month that you have to put out. There's no getting around that. It happens. All right, well, I've been out here going on 10 years, and I'm not 100% able to cut my ties to the towns and cities and that stuff. I still have to go there. I can't make my own gasoline for my vehicle. So even if I want to go up there to the mountains to do some prospecting, I've got to put gas. I've got to put oil. If I blow a shock absorber or get a flat tire, I've got those expenses, okay? You do not live for free off grid. Get that into your heads right now. It's important. If you go out there with the idea that you're going to be sitting on cloud nine, you've got another thing coming. All right. So for things that you want to stock up with and prep with, let's start with some basics, okay? Soaps, cleaners, laundry detergents, trash bags, wraps, or aluminum foils, plastic wraps, things like that. You're going to need all that stuff. And the less times you have to go to the store for them, the more money you're saving. So if you see sales right now coming in the little newspaper flyers and that stuff, and you're still on grid, start buying that stuff up while it's on sale. The prices go up on that all the time and never come back down. So you're going to be paying more and more and more and more for that. And that's stuff that you're going to be needing practically every day. All right. I've got two 40-foot by 9-foot tall containers here, shipping containers. All right. And I've got a 10-foot or 11-foot by 40-foot garage. And a lot of that houses my shops, places to do work. My last unit all the way over on the end, that's my storage. So, if you're going to start storing stuff, remember, you've got to have enough storage space for it. And I keep mine inside of a metal container because if you keep food goods in any place that a rat can chew in, a rat will chew in. And you'll go in there and you'll find all of your hard-earned money and savings and your food all over the place, or gone, one or the other. All right, so remember that. That's a very important thing about moving off grid. Like I said, it takes time to establish a garden. You're going to need food. Buy canned foods, canned vegetables, canned meats, anything that can have a shelf life. Figure on 4 years. Okay? You're going to need 4 years to get established and settled when you first move off grid. You're going off into the unknown. When you get out there to the unknown, it's going to be all unknown to you. And you're not going to just throw a lawn chair out and sit down and say, finally, I'm off grid. I'm retired. I got nothing else to do. I'll tell you what, I'm retired, and I'm more tired every day. And I'm retired the next day, and retired the next day. It is a constant job living off grid. And if you're not physically fit, it's going to be double the job. Now, I'm pretty physically fit for my age. I have people that are jealous of how well I get around at my age. But I've always been active. My whole life I've been active. I've been a hard worker ever since I was 6 years old, when I would go to the dump with Dad and come back with every bicycle part I could find and put bicycles together and then sell them to the neighbor kids. So yeah, there's a lot of work involved living off grid. Now, I started my thoughts of living like this, half a century ago at least. Probably a lot more than that, but I'm not going to give up my age. Anyway, it is not an easy job living off grid. Now you can come out with an RV, okay? You say, well, at least I got a place to stay. Well, I'll tell you what, you're going to find out that within a year or 2 or 3, you're going to have leaks. When the heavy rains come, you're going to have leaks. When the snows come, you got to get the snow off the top of the roof because it's too heavy. Once it starts melting, it gets really, really heavy. It could collapse the roof of an RV. You got to get that off of there. All right? I got an air conditioner up there on the top. Well, you better think again if you think you're going to have air conditioning for the hot summer days, because you got to take a lot of power to run that air conditioner. All right. Now, those old RVs, the walls are only about 2 inches thick. There's not much insulation. They got lots of windows. The windows are single pane glass. They're tempered glass, of course, but that doesn't mean tempered doesn't mean that you're going to have higher temperatures. It doesn't work that way. It's going to get cold in the winter. It's going to get hot in the summer. So you can plan on building yourself a canopy over the top of it all. All right? Sure, that keeps you in the shade for the summer, but it also keeps you in the shade for the winter. That means you're going to be colder under there, because the sun that comes out in the winter isn't going to be able to warm you up at all. So what are you going to do? Make it a removable top so you can take it off in the winter and put it back up in the summer? Ain't going to work that way. All right, now I'm not trying to discourage you guys from moving off grid. I'm just giving you insight so that you don't move off grid and your first year out there fail. And then you have no place to go and nothing to do about fixing it, because you're out there with nothing and you're trapped in place because the snow's too deep, you can't drive out. There's a lot to worry about when it comes to living off grid. Remember that. All right. Now, you're going to have compost toilets, but you can't rely on compost toilets if you got 3 feet of snow outside. You're not going to be able to take that compost crap out of there and go bury it in the ground. It's not going to happen. You're going to have to build yourself an outhouse that you can use as many times, as often as possible. Or you're going to be using your RV and you're going to fill your black water tank up, and then you've got to have someplace to dump your black water tank, because they don't empty themselves. Right? All right, so let's keep this in perspective, everybody. I've got a whole list here of about 30 things I want to cover, and I'm not going to try to do it all at once. I'm going to do it in 20-minute videos. We're at 17 and a half minutes now and still going, and I'm only going on number 4. Okay, your storage space is important. Now, don't go out and start buying all kinds of knickknacks and pretty curtains and decorative stuff to hang on the walls. Don't do that. You can always find a swap meet or a thrift store in your area that you can go to later and get that stuff. And then it becomes more of a pleasure, because you don't have to store it. You go get it, you hang it on the wall where you think it would go best, and it's done. And it stays there for the duration, as long as you live, right? So don't be going out there and buying pretty. Okay, pretty is not going to get you through the year. I've said it many times before in my early days out here. You want function before beauty. Everything. Don't worry about putting the wires to your solar perfectly squared and tacked on the wall so they look real pretty. Who are you trying to impress? The Joneses? The Joneses could give a crap that you live off grid. They don't care. So don't worry about that kind of stuff. Put your wire connection from the power to the utility and use it. And it can stay like that. Well, a lot of mine is still there, just as I put it in 10 years ago. And it still works just fine. And wire, I'll tell you what, a nice straight wire with perfect 90-degree bends in it, with tacked up against a piece of plywood, does not carry electricity more efficiently than a wire that just goes from the item to the other item and hangs out in midair. There's no more efficiency in it. So don't worry about stuff like that. You can take care of that down the line if it ever matters. There's nobody to impress out here, okay? Get away from the idea that you need to impress somebody. And the people that I've had on my channel that said, oh my God, what a mess in your electric room. You should straighten that all out. You know what? It works. I'm not fixing it. All right? Those are people that are always willing to give you advice because they like to see things pretty and organized, and they don't care whether it works or not. I only care whether it works. That's what makes the difference. My garden house is not the prettiest thing in the world, but it works. Okay? And it's taken a lot of years to get to the point where I could worry about growing stuff in there. Now my grapevines and my fruit trees are all full of fruit and right now, and I should have a good year with those as long as a heat wave doesn't come. That's another thing you're going to have to worry about is changes in the weather. That happens. You can't control it. You can't fix it. It's going to happen. So make sure you have food stock in your storage. And remember, storage space is important. It's very important. If you're going to live in an RV, you don't have any storage space. You have a few cabinets and they're probably already full. Unless you're going to spend thousands of dollars now to get yourself shipping containers, you don't have storage. And if you say, I'll just build a storage shed, or I'll go buy a storage shed at Harbor Freight or Home Depot or Lowe's, fine. Go ahead and go get one. But don't bet on it before you have it. Because you might tell them, I live at such and such a location, and they say, we don't deliver out there. Now what do you do? Right? Same thing with these shipping containers. You're going to have to call somebody that will deliver to your location. Okay, there's a lot of things you got to know about moving off grid. And I'm well over 20 minutes right now, so I'm going to cut this down, and we'll continue it at another time. But just trying to make some points to you, so you don't get out there and get yourself into trouble, because survival could come to non-survival. And that's not to scare you, that's to prep you. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. This is G Bear signing off and getting ready for another issue.